Hello and welcome to Fraggle Talk Back to the Rock, the unofficial Fraggle Rock podcast brought to you by toughpigs.com. This is the podcast where we cover Fraggle Rock Back to the Rock episode by episode, along with the talented producers, performers, writers, and builders who help put it all together. I'm your host, silly creature Joe Hennis. Today, we are talking about Season 2, Episode 5, I'm Pogey, in which Wembley raises important questions about his identity, orientation, and self-worth, and Pogey is Pogey. This week, we've got three fabulous guests on the podcast. Returning from last season, he's the puppeteer who's repeated Pogey's catchphrase so many times, they had to name a whole episode after it. It's Kanja Chen. Hello, Kanja.
Hey, Joe. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for coming back. Next, we have a newcomer to Fraggle Talk. They were a staff writer for Back to the Rock Season 1, a staff editor for Back to the Rock Season 2, and a writer for this and several other episodes of the series. It's Charley Feldman. Hello, Charley.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Thanks so much for being here. And last, but certainly not least, he's Gobo. He's Sprocket. He's the architect-ducer. He's Barry Blueberry. He's a writer, a director, producer, a puppet captain. He's the creative supervisor for all of Fraggle Rock, whatever that means. It's John Tartaglia. Hey, John.
He needs a coffee after that introduction. My gosh.
I ran out of breath halfway. You have so many titles, so many responsibilities. My goodness.
You forgot he's the wind beneath our wings.
Oh, it's true. It's so true. Hello. Oh, I'm so excited to get into this episode with all of you. There's so much to talk about. But before we do, Charley, this is your first time on Fraggle Talk. Everyone else, when we did Season 1, we got their whole backstory. So we're going to get yours right now. Can you tell us how you came to be working on this show?
My whole backstory. That'll take a lot of time, but I was very lucky to have been working for Henson for the animated version of Harriet the Spy. And while I was working there, I just fell in love with, I was already a Henson head before this. Labyrinth never, ever, ever left my VHS player. As a kid, many late fees, I'm sure, to Blockbuster. I don't know, we didn't buy it, but we rented it mostly. So Hallie and I, have you had Hallie on at all?
On the first season, we have not yet had her on Season 2, but we're bringing her in. Don't worry.
Well, Hallie and I, we wrote an episode together of Harriet the Spy. And I think that really cemented my Henson familyness because we bonded so much. And it was an episode about her late father, and it was very special to her. And she's very special to me now. And she was like, have you considered ever working on Fraggle Rock? And I said, I have not only considered it, I dared to dream it. So please, may I have the opportunity? And lucky for me, they kept me on for now 2 seasons and hopefully more. That's what we keep saying.
I just want to say quickly that Charley, because they are so incredibly modest, is underselling their amazing track record as a writer. And Hallie,
I was right time, right place.
I distinctly remember Hallie saying to me, do you know who Charley Feldman is? They are this incredible writer. You would get along so well, and they are such a Fraggle in real life too. And so I just wanted to give Hallie props for that. That Hallie is your biggest fan and could not have sung more praises and was completely correct.
That's so kind. I'm a Fraggle in that maybe I'm a boober with a red rising is sort of how I feel. with a moon and Pogey, obviously.
Fraggle horoscopes. We need Fraggle horoscope. That's so good.
Article,
that's happening.
Free article idea.
You know, you guys are already making Labyrinth and I think Dark Crystal tarot cards. Why not?
Yeah, why not?
Fraggle too?
I have to think about
get the products folks on the line. I also like the idea that you just hire people who seem like Fraggles. Like, is that
it helps?
You know what? You have to have a certain spirit. You have to have a certain energy and a certain heart to write for the show, and I think that Charley brings all of that, and that's why this episode especially is so wonderful, is because it Charley really found the funny and the heart and the meaning, and that the best Fraggle Rock episodes, especially from the classic series and now Back to the Rock, are when all three of those things move in alignment with each other.
I certainly made it personal and took from my life and my experience. But let me just say, it's our entire writers' room that makes an episode. It's Alex
Yeah.
and Matt and Johnny on down. Like, it's all of us breaking the story and making it better and making it funnier and making it wonderful. So this show is extremely collaborative, and that's before we get to Kanja and the incredible team on the production and performance end. So it is definitely not a just a my episode.
Well, yes, but those people
Director
aren't
Johnny
here today.
Tartaglia.
Those people aren't here today, so you get to take all of the credit. So
That's right.
yeah, that's great. So let's talk about this episode. I'm Pogey is easily the most talked about episode from the season of Back to the Rock. Did you have an inkling that that would be true when you were writing it or when you were filming it?
Johnny, you want to take that?
I mean, I think finding this story in the writers' room was a super emotional thing for us as a group of writers. You know, you get really close to each other, even though most of the work we did was on Zoom. We were together for 20 weeks writing, each season. And, there were certain the beautiful part of the Fraggle Rock writers' room is that, and I think the original series was like this as well, is that so often stories come out of people's personal lived experience or what they're observing in the world that they would want to change or something that an advisor says, when we have our kind of first beginning of the season meeting with our wonderful advisors of like, what are some issues that are important to families and kids? And one of the biggest things that got talked about in the room and from advisors and you hear from parents is self-identity, healthy self-expression, and healthy self-identity. And of course, we live in this world right now where people who identify one way or the other, certain groups of people are under attack or are feeling unsafe. And we just felt like if there's any kid out there in the world that doesn't feel okay as who they are, then that is something it's like our duty to talk about that through this new version of Fraggle Rock. So, finding that in the writer's room was super emotional. And then I think, we'll talk as we go. I don't want to front load it all, but we definitely felt like on the set, I was so incredibly blessed to direct this episode, and I felt that it was our duty to make a half hour of television that could possibly change lives and save lives. And I know that sounds super dramatic, but I feel like it's a subject matter that is needs to be discussed. And I guess it makes me really, really happy and makes me emotional to know that so many people are touched by this episode, because it for everybody on this call and beyond, it meant a lot to all of us to make it.
When Jim Henson conceived of the idea behind Fraggle Rock, he said he wanted to create a TV show to end war. And obviously, we still have war. I mean, I hate to say he was unsuccessful in that regard, but when I think about, the idea of what you all creating, contributing to this idea of bringing peace to the world, this is exactly the kind of episode I think about. When you say that you were saving lives by, creating this sense of understanding, that's so much in the heart, not just the heart of what Jim Henson wanted, which is what we all kind of strive for, but at the heart of what Fraggle Rock is and should be, and to be doing it in such an entertaining way. I don't think I'm speaking out of turn for anyone who's listening to this, but like, I think we all kind of agree this is easily the best episode of the season. Like, it's just so powerful for that reason
so
alone.
kind.
Yeah.
I mean, we talk about you can get literal about what war means, but certainly I think sometimes we can be at war with ourselves and want peace to our own minds and hearts and spirits, which is really hard to do sometimes in the world we live in. And it's an honor to be taking a lot of lines were extremely personal from my own life, things said to me, things I have thought. I recognize that there's some viewers out there who wishes we weren't so, or Wembley wasn't so mean to himself. And I agree. I think that people in my life have said that about me, that I should be less mean to myself. And I wish I was less mean to myself, but it's, I don't know. It's tough sometimes being a writer for Fraggle Rock, only in that we don't want to we don't want to be mean to our characters, and we also don't, there's not a lot of like villains. There's no one who's just like especially like villainous or coming against us. So this was tricky in that way, to be like, well, sometimes we're our own worst enemies, but we're not bad people. We're just trying to figure our own stuff out. And with something like identity, be it gender identity or expression of any kind, you're just always in a process of finding yourself. What's more playful and fraggly than that is just taking who you are and figuring it out in a dance, in a playful way.
And this also came, it's because there's all of that. Everything Charlie just said is right, and there was also this lovely desire to take a character like Pogey, who in the first season was a fantastic, funny, like, I mean, my lord, if you needed a laugh, like, you had Pogey run through and say something. And first of all, Kanja is one of the most incredible performers I have ever worked with, because he just throws his heart and his soul into everything he does on that set, and is like the greatest puppet find in the Henson history, because he's so incredibly good. And but we had so much fun writing for Pogey in the first season, with all those, especially with poor Red, who's become, it's the great to have this Pogey Red back and forth, that she loves him, but Pogey drives Red crazy. But we were like, oh, we want them to have more, to get to know Pogey more, and to realize, because I think Jim did this with so many of his characters, right? Where like this seemingly the monster, who you think is just a monster, ends up being this incredibly emotional creature, or the one word nonverbal character ends up being the biggest thinker and has the deepest meaning. So we thought it'd be beautiful to have Pogey, who we did use primarily for just wonderful fraggly fun in the first season, have this other side and explain why Pogey says I am Pogey, and explain why they have this incredible confidence. I think it was important to show, it is such a Fraggle message, right? But like, people or Fraggles aren't always just how you perceive them.
That the idea of what you just described, of Pogey being so confident, and that's kind of where it comes from. First of all, it fits so well. I would be shocked if this wasn't a part of Pogey's character from season 1. But I have to assume it kind of came up with the, breaking the story here for season 2. Kanja, was this anything that you kind of had an inkling of from season 1, or and like with the things that we learned about Pogey in this episode, when were you brought into the fold to be a part of that character development?
Yeah, so the first part of your question, season 1, no, I mean, I think season 1 really was discovering who Pogey was. And that's, I mean, I think it's such a great word, discovery, because I really do believe that Pogey exists and has always existed. And it was really a group effort to really find out who Pogey was. I remember, I mean, I'll just give a little story. When I was just trying to figure out who Pogey was in season 1, I remember I was sitting down and just doing these little one worders, and I was just like, yep, just like thinking like just a one little thing. And Johnny, you turned to me and you were kind of like, okay. And I was like, yep, that's exact. Yes. Like we both know who Pogey is right now. Like, we are finding who Pogey is or was. And in terms of second season, like I remember Matt kind of coming up to me and going, at the beginning of the season, we are so excited about this season. We've got some great big plans, but Matt didn't tell me anything other than that. Just like, we've got some exciting stuff. And I think the writers, I don't know. I mean, I'm just assuming from the conversations I've had with different writers, they all knew and they really wanted to tell me, but they were sworn to secrecy, because no one broke and no one told me. So I didn't know until I got the script, until I actually read
you
the
can
script.
handle it.
Yeah, it was great. I mean, I loved it. I mean, I loved all of it. And when I read it, I was like, yeah. The writers absolutely know Pogey. That's one of the reasons why, I really look at being offered or being given the opportunity to perform Pogey as a true gift, because Pogey is, like I said, is I don't just say Pogey's not my character, just like this episode's not any one of our episodes. Pogey is a character that everyone can connect with, and everyone knows Pogey really well. Like I read people's comments all the time. I'm like, yep, you know Pogey. Yep, you've got Pogey. And that really shined through in season 2 for me when I started reading a lot of the scripts, and I was like, yes, that's great. For my own sense of character, season 1, one of the things I had to do is try to create my own backstories and my own thinking. And I remember I had said to, I think it was probably Jordan Lockhart, who we were just fooling around, and I was like, I totally feel like Pogey would run through, knock over all of the radishes that Wembley's carrying as Wembley's counting them, and I just yell out 374 and just keep running. And it's not till the end of the episode that you'll actually find out that's exactly how many radishes were there. But that was just, again, it was just something that I was like, yeah, I think that fits within the spirit of who Pogey is. And then leave it to this writer's room and these writers to deliver script after script all the way, like throughout the entire season, but especially with I'm Pogey, the I'm Pogey episode, and I'm just like, they've got Pogey. They've absolutely got Pogey. Yep, it's been fantastic. I'm so happy.
The Pogey is so fun to write for, because Pogey is sort of like the noble fool archetype, but also their very own thing. But like, the noble fool is wiser than all of us, and also an absolute idiot sometimes. And that's for a world that is very silly. The having an even more foolish character, I think it's kind of hard to do, but it's Kanya's performance, and certainly where we've found them in the stories.
Yeah, that's an interesting concept, kind of being like the town idiot in a town of idiots. And like, you really kind of have to push that a little bit. Yeah.
Well, and I remember Dave Gold saying, when we were developing Back to Rock the first season, and we were going through all the different characters, all the different editions and things like that. We were talking about who Pogey was, and that Pogey was, like the Pogey throws their heart 100% into it, no matter what it is, and is, can come across a bit simple and in the best possible way. And Dave was just laughing hilariously, and he's like, we need that. He's like, we need that like extra character, that like really has that kind of a personality. And I think the moment, for some reason, I don't know why, because it was one line, but I just remember this moment from the first season of shooting, that I was like, oh gosh, that character, like Pogey is so part of the canon now, was during Night of the Lights, where Pogey runs through covered in glow grapes and just is like, yeah, and like it's just, and you're just like, exactly who that character is. You're like, Pogey absolutely is that kid who goes 150%, while everyone else is like skirting 100. Pogey's at 150 and is totally okay with it. And I think that just solidified who they are. They're just so committed to who they are. They have no apologies to make for who they are.
There were two things after season 1 ended that a lot of us, mostly me, were saying, this is what I really want out of season 2. Both of them, I will tease, both of them are in this episode. But the first one was, I want a Pogey-centric episode, and I'm very happy that you delivered on that. The second one we will get to as we discuss this episode, which, what a great segue that was that I accidentally fell backwards into. Let's talk about this episode. I'm Pogey opens on Doc and Sprocket's workshop. Sprocket. I've never said Docket before, but I feel like that comes up a lot for you guys. Docket. Nope. That's a couple name. Oh my gosh. A season. Yeah, you could have that one, Johnny, if you want to throw that into season 3.
Docket. I'm making t-shirts.
Sprocket. Great. Sprocket is watching a video of young Doc singing at a talent show. I was curious. I paused it on the talent show video. He's watching on a website called coolclips.com, cool with a K. I went to coolclips.com. Someone else owns. There's nothing there.
Oh God, thank God.
There's nothing there, but it is not available to purchase.
Okay.
I'm sorry to say. So if you want to see this video, you'll have to go to some other website. There are all these commenters on the side, and they're all like people's names. You're nodding. Okay, so that means that these are real people.
There are tons of Easter eggs in there, and I don't recall them specifically right now, but I remember when we were creating them. Like I think one of them, if I'm remembering correctly, is Philip Henry Wu or Philip Wu.
Yes, I wrote them all down. You got Philip
Oh,
Henry
you did?
Wu
Oh,
16.
good.
Yes.
Oh yes. So Philip was mine and Hallie's producing assistant on the series, and for the second season, and he is a lifesaver, and so that was one fun thing. And then who are the others?
All right, I'm gonna give you all of them. You're gonna tell me who these people are. Dylan Dog 1224.
Dylan Dog. That's Dylan Dog is probably, I think, Dylan, who was part of our camera team, I'm gonna guess.
All right. Nady Nunu.
I have no idea who that is.
Harriet MC 555.
Harriet MC.
No, maybe they don't. I
think some of these must be made up.
Maybe wait. Is that Alex's daughter, Harriet? Alex has a daughter named Harriet. Maybe it's for Harriet.
Oh, maybe so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ira Windsor Square.
That's also Alex's kid.
Yes.
Alex, you cutie pie.
Christina and Rob 5714.
Christina.
It's gotta be like more kids, more people's kids.
Yeah, I think it was an opopportunity to like throw loving people's names in there.
Last one. Madison loves to swim.
I know.
Oh, is that Madison?
It's Madison. Okay, so that's a quick funny story. So I was staying. Oh my God, Charlie's gonna die. So, okay, this is an insider story. So I had gone to this resort for like a weekend away. It's like a spa resort kind of place, and I was explaining to the writers' room that there was this mother there, and she had this giant hat on. I remember remember that SNL skit about giant hats? It was like she had one of those giant hats on, and her daughter was in the pool, and her name was Madison, and all this mother kept saying was, Madison, you gotta get out of the pool, Madison, we gotta go. We're gonna get, you want chicken fingers? Madison. And I was obsessed with how she said Madison as 2 syllables, Madison. And also just like, it was just drama that I had the privilege of seeing and watching. And so I came back to the writer's room and talked about it. And so it became a running gag in the writer's room for all 20 weeks, where basically like every now and then, Matt Fussfeld or Alex Cuthbert would just be like, Madison, you want to get lunch? Madison. So that's exactly what that is.
Wow.
And I'm ashamed that I did not pick up on that until now.
I was hoping it would be a reference to the movie Splash, but your story was much better.
It's not. So this is a podcast. It's not a visual medium, but I did leave for a moment because we got mugs to commemorate our season, and it literally says Madison on the back, but I don't know where my mug is.
Oh,
that's funny.
Sorry, guys.
Wow.
You can't see it anyway because it's a podcast.
Just hold up. Wow, look at that beautiful mug that you're holding up right now. Well, you have 2 of them. Wow, amazing.
Madison, you want a mug? Madison, you going Tough Pigs? Madison, you want to talk to your head? Anyway, that's the story.
Incredible. Thank you for sharing that non-Fraggle related story.
I'm so happy you took the time to find that out.
Anyway, Sprocket's watching this video. Doc is not having it. That's kind of the end of that story. All right, let's move on. Wembley is helping Moki pick out hats for Lanford. Wembley's an expert because he helps Gobo pick out his hats. A little hat lore for Gobo.
Yes, always trying to put that in there.
Why does Lanford need a hat?
Oh, because Moki thinks so. And I mean, yeah.
That's a good reason. I was just thinking, like, they're underground. It's not like they got to keep the sun out of his eyes. It doesn't even have eyes.
We were still trying to set up the idea that even after they resolve it in episode 3, that like Moki is still a little too obsessed with Lanford, and so
she's
like
still a mom. Yeah, right.
Like it's that line in To Wong Fu, like it's a wear something hat day. So it feels like it's like, Moki would absolutely be like, Lanford, it's Thursday. We need a hat today. Like, I think that's just where Moki's brain goes.
Anyone who's ever had a pet, you want to accessorize the pet.
Yeah.
It's just fun to see them in different hats and outfits. So yeah, it's just kind of that.
All right.
And they're role
I'm
playing,
here
and
for
we're all
it.
playing with identity anyway, and presentation. So Lanford gets to play with Lanford's presentation as well.
Yes,
There you
good.
go.
Approved. Wembley finds Moki's old robe. And it's the robe from the original Fraggle Rock series.
The literal one.
Moki, he asked her why she ever changed. She said, oh, something inside me said it was time for a change. New outfit, new hairdo. You're really driving home. Like this is the same Moki, but she has made some fashion changes.
Well, you know, we
I
pay
mean,
attention
soft new. Yeah.
soft note. We pay attention to the Fraggle discourse that's out there, and I know that there was a lot of fans who were like, "Why did they change Moke?" Like and we knew that was going to happen, and we had a lot of really considerate and careful conversations about that before we did it. But the thing that people ask that I'm always like, I think maybe everyone doesn't know is it is literally the same patterned puppet. It is not, it's the same as Raleigh Cruson approved the patterns, who of course built on the original series, and it is literally the 1982 patterns from Loki. It's just different hair and a different outfit, but the same eyes, same fleece, same everything. So and I think we just wanted a reason to explain it, and it just felt so right for this episode, and we thought that the fans would get a kick out of acknowledging the fact that she used to wear this robe and now she doesn't.
Yeah, we absolutely do appreciate it. Yeah, and it does feel like it's a nod for us. We like those kinds of Easter eggs of just like wink wink. It's real if you want it to be. Like the whole original series happened if you wanted it to happen.
Yeah, we were excited. We were super shooting that. We were super. I remember Jordan Lockhart, who was our brilliant Wembley, when we were shooting that moment, he's like, "Oh, the fans are going to lose their minds." I was like, "Yeah, they are. It's going to be awesome."
Yeah.
So
yeah. We thank you. We thank you for that.
It gives a nice in-world reason for why we're talking about this today. We're talking about this because every one of these characters has the ability to explore how they are in this world, how they present, how they play. So this it worked out on all levels.
Absolutely, right. Yeah. Red rushes in. She tells them, "Stop what you're doing. We're doing a Fraggle stack. We're stacking Fraggles." Jump in.
It's also sort of that thing where I don't think we ever are clear about who's older than who. Age sort of doesn't really matter here, but it is sort of that experience that I think a lot of people, regardless of how you identify, where you have an older sibling and you kind of want to dress how they dress. So I think that's the first inkling of Wembley being like, I remember this robe exemplified you in this way. What would it look like on me? How would that be for me? So it's sort of that wearing your mom's heels or your dad's tie, but we don't have parents here, so we have an elderish sibling-ish.
Yeah,
with
I'm glad to hear you say that, because there was a part of me that wondered. Obviously, Wembley is not trying to be Moki or to be more like Moki. Right. There's an old episode from the original series where Red tries to do that. It's not the story you're telling here. So there is the question of, so why, like he takes Moki's robe. It looks like he takes Moki's necklace. He's using what he thinks is Moki's hair goop. We'll get to that in a minute. Like there's definitely a connection to Moki, but that's not really part of the story we're telling here. But
Wembley doesn't have. Yeah, and Wembley is such a, we always talk about like what are the interrelationships of the characters, and Wembley has such a appreciation for Moki, and I think is fascinated by her ability to just own herself and who she is. I mean, Moki never questions whether or not she should fall into a trance in the middle of a conversation; just does it. So I think that he really looks up to her, but also I think Wembley is the one character that is so innocent. Wembley's heart is so pure and so innocent. I mean, I think that's what I love about that character. Love about Wembley is that he just really would walk to the ends of the earth if you told him to for somebody. That he wouldn't have the wherewithal to have an understanding of why this would be weird or wrong. The only time that even kind of occurs to him is when he makes a mistake, which we're getting to about how Red reacts. He misunderstands it. That's the first time he just thought it was a wonderful thing to do. And why couldn't I wear this robe? And it might be cool if I express myself like that. He's so innocent in his want. And I think that that's why we chose him to be the main focus of the story for that reason.
Yeah, absolutely.
And can I just say, like, I really connected with that moment with Wembley, because I was I was that 4-year-old kid who was raised by like a really hippie mom. I mean, extremely hippie mom who had communal clothing bins in the daycare that I grew up in. But she showed me this little green dress that she grew up in. It meant so much to her, and it was one of my favorite outfits to wear when I was little because it was connected to someone I absolutely loved. And so and I believe Johnny has seen it, but there's a picture I have of me at probably 3 in my mom's little green dress, and it was and I also had a red ribbon in my hair as well. And it was, it to me it was a symbol of connecting with my mom when she was little. So I couldn't play with my mom when she was little, but was connecting to her. And so I really think that, at least the way I interpret it as well, it's that same feeling that we have when we're young and we don't see all those delineated lines of what we can and cannot do. It's, we're really looking at it as this is a connection to this person who I really care about.
That's exactly right. And
Beautiful.
we talked about that in the writers' room too, about like how the only moment a little boy might think that it's quote unquote wrong to play with girl stuff, or the only moment a little girl would be, told it's wrong to dress up in quote unquote boy stuff. The only time that actually hits them is when a friend or family member or a parent or adult calls it out and says something about it. We don't naturally as creatures have that awareness of girls or boys, this is right or wrong. So, I remember putting on my mom's heels and wearing my mom's robe, and the only inclination I had that it was quote unquote wrong was when, someone older said, like, what are you doing in that? That's the first time it hits you. And so that was the moment we were trying to capture with Wembley, of like, that innocence of like, hi everyone, I'm here in this thing that I think I like to wear and this feels good. And then it's thinking that people are chastising him for it.
I mean, what's sillier than gendering clothes? Like, not in a linguistic sense. I'm sorry, Latin languages that gender every object, but like, actually, like, I'm really glad you have an opportunity to have Moki her robe, because robe, dress, you might feel like this is a gendered item, even though I don't think it should be. But a robe is especially not a very.
Everyone wears robes.
Yeah,
I
but it's
own
different
a
enough for
robe.
Wembley.
I own a robe that no joke looks exactly like that gray robe, with the same knit pattern that's kind of missing a few, loops or whatever. And like, I love it because it's just really comfortable. It's like, it's my favorite robe. I wear it all the time.
Yeah.
Or I guess it's more of a cardigan, but still, I mean, like, yeah, that's not gendered. It's just a gray piece of fabric.
Yeah,
it's so not gendered. It's like aggressively not gendered.
But it's different from Wembley. All of our characters mostly wear the same thing every day. So it just so breaks Wembley out of their pattern in a way that really jolts everybody in a way that never had before that day.
Well, and this is a larger conversation, but like, Fraggle Rock historically has kind of been proactive in being non-gendered. You've got Red Fraggle, who is the athletic one, and you've got Boober, who loves to do laundry. The only times it really comes up, like once in a while with Traveling Matt, like often with the Gorgs, because they've got this whole matriarchy thing going on. But like, for the most part, it just doesn't come up. And it seems like that may have actually been a bit of a challenge for you, Charley, because you're writing something where you've got a character who identifies as male historically, who's starting to ask these questions, but what is male and what is female in the Fraggle Rock world? Well, I mean, I'm making that assumption. Is that true, that was difficult for you to kind of wrap your brain around when writing this?
I think for all of us, this was difficult because, I mean, me coming from the perspective of a non-binary person, like I certainly, I do not represent all non-binary people, but I do use they, them pronouns because that establishes a little, at least again, linguistically, that I see myself in such a way, and I would like you to honor that. And the only thing I feel with our Fraggles is their pronouns. We use she, her for Red and Moki, and we use he, him for Wembley and Gobo. But other than that, it's not really like a strict to our world concept of that. so when we first thought about maybe talking about, and again, I don't want to belabor that this is only about gender. It's also about identity. There, for those who know, you can hear on my non-binary story and trans story here, but also identity and presentation and finding yourself in general. But if we are to talk about gender here a little bit, it is something that we thought about first season, so much so that we almost, and this is getting a little ahead of myself, this is where Boxing Day first began, was for my previous episode that I wrote for Five of the Flutterfies, because we were talking about holidays in that episode. So we thought about a holiday called Boxing Day that would be our only talk about gender identity or expression. So that got removed from that episode and made a whole lot of sense here to sort of balance this out for all of our character areas. And yeah, it's just it's it is a silly concept in our world too, frankly, but it also, especially for those who are on the binary end of things, it's comforting because it feels like it's something you can hold close to your heart and feel like this is me. And I feel like that for anything in between and outside entirely, as soon as you are like, oh, that's me, there's you get a Pogey, you get someone who wants to yell it from the rooftops. And I'm Captain Tangent. I really appreciate you.
That's okay. This is what we're tangenting for, is for these kinds of conversations. Yeah.
Well, and we should just say really quickly that sorry, I was going to say, just to support what Charlie said, that we also had a lot of conversations about how the original series, even, they never obviously talked about gender identity in the way that you can find it in this episode, but they did do episodes where it was like, Gobo was challenging Red, from a male female perspective, or there was a Red's club, or there were moments where like they touched on it.
Yeah.
But they also very specifically, and we definitely have followed this to a T, is there was that infamous episode that got killed, I think, by Karen and Kathy, about like one of them having a crush on a male Fraggle, and so we very purposely avoid that sort of thing. And the closest to that would be Storyteller having her her moments of out traveling that. That's probably the closest we get to that sort of affinity for genders and for crushes and for that sort of a thing. But the Fraggles just they're their own persons, and so when this sort of story came up, it was like, this is the way we can do a gender identity story, but not necessarily call it that and not ever name it that. You never hear, Wembley never questions whether or not he's non-binary or male or female or trans or anything. It's more just about how he is expressing himself. And the hope is that any kid, no matter what they're going through, whether it's a gender identity, whether it's gay or straight or anything that they're going through, where they don't feel like, or they feel that if they do something that will show themselves in a different way and people may judge it, that's what we were hoping that people would relate to. So I think Charlie did a brilliant job in finding this really universal way in with Wembley's story.
Anyone who feels like an outsider, I hope, really sees themselves
exactly
in this. Whether it's perceived, because certainly our Fraggles aren't trying to ostracize Wembley. It does have to get a little more internal for him. But yeah, the point is, like, sometimes we find ourselves in any part of our lives, whether we're kids or adults, where we're like, I don't want to be judged for something that I love or something that I'm exploring too soon. Like if I say this too soon and I haven't figured it out for myself, like that will explode everything, my relationships, my sense of like equanimity. Like it's really tough to explore yourself in this world, and you just hope for Fraggle friends who are like, wherever you end up, we love you.
Well, and you're also describing, I mean, look, I identify as a straight male, and I felt so much of what Wembley felt, because I also come from like this fandom world where like I've been obsessed with things like Muppets for at parts of my life where like people didn't really get that. And just like Wembley in this episode, you got to find the people who do get it and tell you it's okay for you to be who you are, and for you to kind of let go of that fear of wondering like, oh, are they gonna like me still? Are they not gonna get the things that I've been hiding, this part of me? Are they not gonna get it when I start to like really let it fly like a flag? And it's not, it doesn't hold the same weight in a lot of ways as some of the topics that we're talking about today, but like it's still, I mean, I think a lot of people can see that truth in their own experiences like I do.
I hope so. I mean, certainly, I hope we never legislate against fandoms.
Can you imagine? Oh, we're all moving to Canada after that.
Yeah, seriously.
All right. So anyway, let's get back to this episode. I'm sure this stuff is going to come back into conversation several times throughout this podcast. But in the Great Hall, we're doing a Fraggle stack. The Fraggles are basically doing a human pyramid, but they're with Fraggles. Pogey is there at the top. Kanja, can you tell us, like, where are you? Like, are you like on a ladder or something?
It was quite the challenge to try to make sure that this Fraggle stack, worked on a basic level, just like a puppeteer perspective, but also like performance. And I remember kind of like doing the math, and I was like looking, and I was like, okay, we are physical puppeteers who take up space. And so we've got a line of puppeteers in the bottom row, and they're going to take up the space right behind those puppets. And then the next row on top of them is going to take another whole human. Now we're adding to the depth of this stack. And I think we had another row which had more. So now we're 3 humans deep, and they're like, and Kanya, you got to be on the top. So I was like, oh. And so, yeah, it was actually a lot of teamwork figuring it all out. The ladder option was not an option just for safety. We made sure, like, nope. So they ended up building a wonderfully stable, safe platform. And the amazing wrangling crew cut a hole in the back of Pogey's head so I could puppeteer through the back of Pogey's head. So it was easy to access, just, leaning forward. And I had, I was like harnessed, and I had, a railing there that was keeping me from, plunging anywhere. But so I leaned forward, and it was fantastic. I actually remember watching it and seeing the take, and I went, damn, that looked good. And I did not know how they were going to be able to do it. And it looked good. It's actually something I pause and rewind quite a lot when I'm watching it. I go, wow, they pulled it off. So yeah, so that's the technical piece, but it's, in the end of the day, it was just a Fraggle stack, and it looked amazing.
I will just say that part of your job as a director on anything is to act like, to be confident in your ideas, and I was a big proponent of the Fraggle stack idea because I thought it was a fun idea, and then the night before, every night before, or every day when we shoot the show, the night before we have what's called a walkthrough, where we wrap what we were shooting that day, and then the crew and the talent and the producers stay afterwards and do a walkthrough where we kind of walk through what we're going to shoot, sometimes 2 days before, but usually 1 day before, and talk about what it's going to be. And we got to the Fraggle stack, and there was a lot of like, so Johnny, how is this going to work? And I was in my brain, I was like, no, it's me. Okay, we're going to cut holes for the bottom Fraggle, so they're under something and inside of something. Stuff, bodies, the second row, blah blah blah. And what I give credit to, and I'm so glad we get a moment to say this. Our crew in Calgary is the greatest crew I have ever worked with in my entire television career. I really mean that, because they never once were like, can't do that. It was like, here's how we'll do it. Let's figure it out. So even on the day when we tried the Fraggle stack one way and it wasn't quite exactly what we wanted to be, time is money, right? And like, we only have a certain amount of time to shoot these shows, and going down for a half hour to figure something out is devastating. These guys were down for 20 minutes, maybe, coming up with a new truss system and this, and they jumped in, they did it, and they were so willing. And that's why, to Kanye's point, it looks so great, is the effort that they made, the puppeteers made, the wranglers made, like, and I just stood there, was like, thank you, Jesus, for making my idea work, because I wasn't 100% sure it would. Like, but I couldn't let anyone know that in my brain I was going, did I say we could do something we can't do? But it really does. I'm also very happy with how it ended up.
Fantastic. The storyteller is keeping time because they're trying to break a record. And she's like, hang on, let me put my hourglass glasses on. And she bends down, comes back up with glasses that look like a horizontal hourglass that is neither functional as an hourglass or as glasses, which is hysterical.
Makes no sense. Yep,
I love
makes
it.
no sense at all.
I love the storyteller. Can we get a storyteller episode in season 3, please?
Oh, believe me. I
Is
mean,
that too much? Is that chaotic?
no, that's like on my wish list too. And it's funny because I think that like Pogey, we were talking before about Kanya, how we can depend on Kanya to make anything work with Pogey. My God, if you need a funny line to call in Donna Kimball to do the story, you have to tell her, because she just, when she found that version of the character, I was like, I want that. I want her to like read me like I want the storyteller to have like a series on the call map and just like read stories to make me fall, because I think I'd be so entertained. I don't think I fall asleep, but I love that voice so much.
Storyteller podcast is right there.
Writing for Donna is so fun, but Donna also ad-libs incredibly. So like you just let her talk and let her keep going on set, which is so fun to watch.
So true.
No, she's amazing. So Wembley comes in, as we discussed. He comes in with his new outfit, with the robe, the necklace, his hair's up in a ponytail, and the Fraggle stack falls because they're all a little surprised to see him. Red gets upset about it. Wembley totally misinterprets the situation, thinking that she's upset with him, and he runs off. That poor little guy. Like, doesn't your heart just break for him?
Absolutely. And I have to say, we're Jordan Lockhart, talk about somebody who just is all heart, and the level of care he put into this episode, like he cared so deeply about every moment of it and getting it right and telling the story and exploring the side of Wembley. And I just from a directing point of view, it was just thrilling to see him find these things and to be willing to go there. And I think that this moment, to me, is, to you're talking about, is such a heartbreaking moment, when he thinks that he's being judged for something like that, and the way he touches his little head, and it's like, oh my gosh, it's beautiful. It's so beautiful.
Yep. Absolutely. Gobo enters with his latest postcard from Traveling Matt's. The storyteller is very excited. She says his words are poems, his mustache is a song.
Yep. Charley Feldman.
Did you write that?
Wrong? Is she wrong?
She's not wrong. And again, like I love the storyteller. Like I couldn't tell if that was one of those, like, was in the script or was that Donna being Donna? And that's a testament to both of you.
I don't know. I never wanted to be that writer who's just like, oh, that's one of mine. I have no idea.
It was in the script. I remember it was in the script, and I thought it was a genius line, Charlie.
All right, well, you're taking credit for it either way, or we're giving you credit. We're thrusting credit upon you. So Traveling Matt has a hole in his boot, so he says, well, he knew exactly where to go, not the shoe store. He went to a toy store. The aisles are separated between stereotypically boys' toys and girl toys, so he rearranges the shelves, and he chooses a pair of pink glittery shoes for himself and mails his old boots back to Fraggle Rock, and they smell like old boots.
Old boots.
Exactly. Gobo takes him to another cave far, far away from everyone else, but he'll be gone long enough for the Fraggles to justify throwing him a welcome home party. And I love that the Fraggles are like, oh, what a great opportunity for a party. Like as if they knew a real opportunity. Like they could have just thrown a party, but it's like, oh, it's a reason for a party.
Any reason.
I like that idea.
To think, and certainly in our room, I think we see the Fraggles as like always kind of having parties, always
exactly
things to celebrate. Which I think everyone out there should find that in their lives somehow. You deserve your little celebrations for the silliest, quote unquote, inconsequential things, like missing a friend for maybe 15 minutes.
Yeah, throw a party. Why not? Oh, no, I want to go to a party. That sounds like fun. All right, maybe we'll have a finishing this podcast party at the end.
Yay!
There you go.
With the 5 of us. Wembley has changed out of his clothes, but his hair will not go back to normal. Turns out he didn't use Moki's hair goo. He used Lanford's pot glue to fix his broken pot.
Here's some behind the scenes. This had to be
Yeah.
cut for time, but we were sort of tracking Lanford having sort of a growth spurt. So Lanford was like eating things all throughout eating the hat, eating like decorations, because we needed Lanford to like be bigger than the pot for episodes that were coming later. So this is like the beginning of that growth spurt, but it just we had to focus it.
Yeah, we cut a lot of that out. That's right.
Yeah, had to be.
Oh, we're missing out on a little bit of Lanford's
Lanford lore.
season-long story arc here.
That's
getting
right.
slightly larger. The only thing that it turns out the only thing that'll get the hair glue out, excuse me, the glue out of Wembley's hair is water from Sweetwater Creek. So Wembley runs off so he could get it done before Gobo's party.
Sweetwater Creek was a bit. I loved the idea of Sweetwater when I was a kid from the original series. I was like, that just the way that they made it look with the pink, and like I was like, that looks so good. And like I was like wanting them to drink it so badly in that one episode in the classic series when they all leaned forward, and then Gobo was like, no, don't drink it. So it was just when we were in the room, that's one moment I was like, Sweetwater. Like I like psychotic about it. I was like, we have to use Sweetwater, because I was so excited about it.
What do you think Sweetwater tastes like? Because it looks delicious.
I hope it's bitter. I hope it's a nice subversion.
like
Yeah,
black coffee.
Yeah.
I thought it was like strawberry or something. Like I feel like it like the Fraggle. I mean, I know that we brought strawberries into the season, but like I feel like a
fruity.
sweet, yeah, like a berry-ish, yummy, sugary deliciousness.
Oh, that sounds better.
Berry.
I was just thinking, like, again, like just thinking of when I would watch the old episode, it's just like sugar water. And I would go, yeah, because it's sweet water. And then go, that sounds awful.
Yeah.
Sugar into water.
Flavoring.
Not if you're a hummingbird.
Well, that's true, but I'm not. So it still sounds awful. But like LaCroix, it sounds like they're drinking LaCroix, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
But the good flavors. Yeah.
Exactly. Yes. It is yes, the Pamplemousse. It is Junior Gorg's birthday. Happy birthday, Junior Gorg. I actually kind of wish that we were doing like a whole episode just about Junior Gorg's birthday. I feel like it's a big deal. Like he's turning 500, a nice round number. And he's still a little baby boy, by the way. He's only 500.
He is.
Yeah.
Always.
He has thousands of years to go.
Exactly. So it turns out the 500th birthday for Gorgs is Boxing Day, which is also the name of a real holiday.
Yeah, which was the beginning of the conversation. Like Charlie was saying during the first season, was like we needed a holiday. How funny would it be to take actual Boxing Day, but in the Fraggle Rock metaphor world, it's not that.
Right, it's actually about boxes. Else. Yeah, right. Totally. The story
was my
goes,
favorite. Okay, there's a lot of things I love writing about this episode, but
tell me.
Boxing Day, the history of the Boxing Day story is maybe the most me joke I have ever
It's so funny.
It's so stupid.
It's because it's like so like so it's here's a story about two Gorgs. They're like, I don't know, there's a box. Hey, why don't you get in it? And now that we have a holiday.
I love it. Everyone shouted "Yay!"
Which is also how this episode kind of ends.
Yeah.
Well, at least with Pogey shouting "Yay!" We'll get to that. That's
a foreshadowing I meant to put in.
Yeah, deliberate. No, I completely agree. I think that the story of being something that's so mundane and so dumb, being like this, like obviously this holiday has been around for probably thousands of years because it's when everyone turns 500. So for it to be based in, they found two boxes in the woods and they bet.
And I also love that
like
the image of Ma and Pa just standing in those boxes, like it's so stupid. It's just like it's hilarious, and they've saved them like 500 years later. Like it's so wonderfully ridiculous. I love it.
It is.
And whoever on our team created the banners that like the tapestries where the story is just, oh my god, it's so fun to write for this team because you know they're going to make something incredible, like a dock bot when you thought it was only going to be a broom on a Roomba. Like I love our team.
And by the way, those what would you call them? Like, not flags, I guess. Those banners, they were embroidered. I mean, they were so detailed and beautiful. Like they spent so much time making those. Yeah.
And for what's essentially like 15 seconds on screen too, which is It says a lot
pretty
about
much
your
the
team.
set. That's the set of
Yeah.
Fraggle Rock. Is everything is
Really?
they take that much time. They really do.
I love it. So part of this tradition, Junior has to choose a box to get into. There's a short, wide one, and there's a tall, thin one. And boy, Junior just does not fit into either box, but there's only two choices. We'll skip to the end of this storyline just so we're not going back and forth. But like in the end, he can't decide. He ends up knocking down the boxes and dancing on their corpses. And Pa's disappointed, but Ma says, "Oh, you just have to accept your son, no matter what." And then she says, "You dance outside that box, son." Now, I'm going to be honest with you. I do a lot of praise of this show. I do a lot of praise on the show, which is why I feel comfortable telling you this. But this was the one part in the series where, as fun and funny as I genuinely do think that this stuff that we were just talking about is. I really do think that, like, for the Gorgs to be into something that's so dumb, I love that. But there's so many metaphors throughout this episode that are genuinely very important. And I felt this one was just a little bit on the nose. It was a little like, we're talking about being outside the box. We're talking about, do you fit into a box? And there's a literal box. And I felt like for what Wembley is going through, especially, and Pogey, like Pogey's truth that we'll learn about in a little bit, it felt like it was cheap in comparison. And now here's what I want to ask you. I know this is just me shouting my
Well,
opinion
it's been great, everyone. Thanks so much.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
No, you are so entitled to this, but I'll let you continue, and then I will. Yes.
I mean, so my question though is was that a deliberate move? Was that something where like we literally just want to spell this out for you so that we can have our deeper metaphor over here, because we're literally talking about, like, knocking down boxes in this B plot?
So three sort of reasons. First, I sort of already got into is that this was not supposed to be in this episode. So if it's the only time you are talking about this, then it's a good time to be so crystal clear. Now that it's embedded with all these other more, I mean, arguably more subtle talks about identity and expression, yeah, it is more glaring. The second thing I would say is that we are always sort of writing towards everyone in the audience. So the youngest among us needs to be following along. So it's sort of like a backstop of, like, just in case this isn't clear, we just want to make it like really on the nose. And the last thing is the biggest and most important point of all, from Jocelyn Stevenson herself, is it's just stupid. It's so stupid and it makes us laugh. And you are absolutely not wrong to criticize us for it. It is dumb, and I will back those boxes with my whole body.
Well, and
Wonderful.
I'll just support one thing that Charley said, which is, and I tough pigs friends, I see stuff, I read stuff because I love you guys. I'm one of you. And I've seen some of the comments about, sometimes that this version of Fraggle Rock is a little bit more direct and not as, abstract, metaphorical as the original. But, that's a product of the time we live in. We don't, when Fraggle Rock, the original series, came out, there wasn't the demographic breakdown that there is today of who's watching what age group is watching. There wasn't, it was not deemed a quote unquote kids show the way that, now shows get divided into that. And even though clearly, I mean, I don't think it's a secret, we make so much of the show for fans and for people who grew up with it, and it is very much driven to those of you listening right now, for sure. I mean, that's what I am. That's what everyone on this call is. We're all fans. We all love it. Like Charley said, we have a very young audience that's watching the show. We have a great responsibility to them, and to make sure that what we are making, which is ultimately for them, is that the lessons are coming through. And the way that kids absorb information today is so different, than it was in 1983. I mean, really, and I know that goes without saying, and everyone goes, yeah, but it's true. It's like, the pace and the lessons. I mean, if this lesson was on its nose, then my goodness, there's other kids shows where they're just like spooning it down your throat. So and I say that not a defensive way. I agree with you. I think I'm just saying that there's a part of us that we have to remember that 5-year-old kid that's watching doesn't have the ability yet to absorb a metaphor the way that that we do as adults, and that this lesson is so timely and so important that I think we were really passionate that, you know, that a kid, like Charley was saying, could really understand that message, you know. And so I will just, that's my only pushback, but I will say that I totally agree with you at the same time. It is the most on the nose part of the episode.
So,
You're right.
well, here's the real question. Why are you making a show for kids? Just make a show for me. just entertain me. Like
You're putting the tough pigs, and for that we salute you.
There you go.
You.
Joe, secretly every episode this season was made for you, Joe. I didn't want to tell you till later.
I knew it.
Fraggle Rock, Back to the Rock for Joe Hennis.
Oh,
we
man,
made you Icy Joe. That was not based off of like anyone but you.
Okay, now I'm calling shenanigans. I am not that tall. That's why. I know I'm not Icy Joe.
There you go.
So thank you for letting me. It was terrifying for me, by the way, to tell you.
No,
it was something that I didn't
come on.
love because it's
You're
so
not
rare.
like that.
I know.
She's always welcome.
Thank you. The Fraggles are preparing for Gobo's big party. Boober's baking strawberry pies, fruit pies, madness.
I know. I love that line.
What a great delivery that is. I love it. Red is telling everyone to pick a side. Sit on this side of the hall to say go. Sit on this side to say bo. And everyone's having trouble choosing a side, including Pogey, who runs off. We're gonna catch up with them in just a second. But first, we get our first song of the episode. It is "Who Is Me."
Oh wait, sorry. Can I just say something really quickly?
Yes,
on that
please.
moment. Something that eats my heart as a director, because I hated having to cut it, was we had this other great runner that kind of makes sense if you, I mean, it doesn't bother me watching, but I'm like, oh, we had this great runner of Wrench and Turbo with the confetti cannon that they were like completely getting it confused about how to do this and like where it should go, and driving Red crazy because they said one job, which was to provide the friggin' confetti cannon, and they kept getting it wrong. And so there was a whole moment after Pokey leaves that got cut with Wrench and Turbo. That's why they're there, and why later when they set it off, it kind of makes more sense. But anyway, I don't think it bothers anybody but me, because I know it was there. But every time I watch that scene, I'm like, no.
I was wondering that, because you're right. I noticed that there was something about like the timing of the confetti cannon, the timing of the confetti cannon. And then at the very end of the episode, they're doing their American Beauty, making snow angels in the confetti, which is great. Such a great shot. I could tell that there was more to it, but I thought it was just, they're just having fun with doozers.
It's the least amount of doozers in any of our episodes, which is also, we always want to service every single part of it, because that's how we're going to stop wars. Everyone has their place and a part to play in the world. But this is the one episode we really couldn't find other ways.
And Turbo and Wrench were so confident. That's what made it so funny. They're like, we got this. Like these two dummies who like had no idea what they're doing. It's so great. Anyway, someday it'll see the light of it. We'll put it on YouTube or something.
Great. So we get our song "Who Is Me." This is an original song for this episode. This song is a bop. Like, this is a really good song. Like, they're all good songs. I really like this song. I listened to it twice today just to when I was preparing here.
The songs this season are incredible. I love this season soundtrack.
Harvey Mason Jr., Andrew Hay, and Sam Ramirez are geniuses. And the nicest thing someone said on the set, actually, it might have been Jordan or it might have been Amanda. I don't remember. Someone said that they were like, "Is this from the original series?" Because it really couldn't be if it's not. And I thought that was the best compliment you could ever give. Was like,
I did think that at first, because I couldn't remember when I restarted the episode today in preparation for this podcast. And I knew there was going to be one original song and one classic song, and I couldn't remember what it was off the top of my head.
Yeah.
And the song started. I'm like, oh, here it is. And then after a few seconds, maybe
it's a great song.
Yeah, I love it.
Hey, can I just jump in? And I have to say this, and this is just that as a performer who was on set watching Jordan Lockhart perform all the intricate emotional puppeteering and nuances in his performance, as well as hitting marks and choreography, and people who are a fan or who are fans of just pure amazing puppetry, technical puppetry, But it's not just technical puppetry, but it is something that I replay in my memory over and over again. I can't say enough about Jordan. I mean, I love Jordan to pieces, but if you watch him, I think you'd be hard pressed to find any puppet performance as filled with heart and just pure skill and talent as that song. You really break it down. I challenge you to pause any moment. It's a masterpiece.
I agree.
Here.
Totally agree.
You had a good team there over at Fraggle Rock. All of you guys. You're all so good. I honestly, like, you just really stacked this cast.
We're so lucky. We're so lucky.
We're so lucky. So Wembley is singing the song, is basically having an existential crisis during the song. But what's also cool is he's kind of surrounded by all these other Fraggle Rock creatures who are singing along with him. There's Rumblebugs and Diggets and Bubble Bubbies, and Lil Rago is there.
Little Rago.
We love Little Rago. So there's a couple that the Muppet Wiki doesn't have names for, and it seems like from what we're seeing on social media that you have names for everybody. We just haven't gotten them on the wiki yet. We haven't figured out what they are yet. There's like a blue worm looking guy. He's got like a curly tail or like a ribbed tail. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah. I know exactly. Yeah.
Does he have a name? Does it have a name?
You know what? Some of those names are, some of them are just what the puppet builders named them because they just probably needed to give them some name for cataloging reasons. And other are just like on set, Jurgen or Scotty, one of our wonderful puppet wranglers, was like, I don't know, he's called the blah, blah, blah. And other are assigned. So I actually don't know a few of them, but yeah. But they all have something. They're all called something.
That's what I want to know. There's also these two. They're obviously Fraggle size, but they look kind of like furry doozers. They're like round and green, little mustaches. The wiki lists like real names for them: Marshy and Bog, but not like a species name. It seems like you have no idea what they might be called.
I don't remember. I do remember. You're right. I do remember that they were built for the original series. I know that. But I don't remember their species name. But you know what?
We're gonna get to the bottom of this.
I'm gonna find out for you.
All of these, I'm fascinated by this stuff. Like, there's so much culture to the background of Fraggle Rock, and the fact that
the lore,
after all these years, we still don't know. Yeah. And you guys are building canon. If you're just like haphazardly naming a species, that's canon now. It's going on the wiki. We've inked it in.
I love that. We have to add to the great Encyclopedia Fragglia. We have to keep adding all this information.
Exactly. Yeah. Wembley finds Sweetwater Creek, gets his hair back the way it was. And what else does he find there? It's Pogey. You're back, Kanja.
Yeah, and I remember Johnny alluded to this before or stated this before, just about how much heart Jordan put into preparing for this episode. And I remember, like, more than I've ever run lines before, Jordan is like, come over to my trailer, we're gonna run the scene. So the number of times that we ran that scene together, this scene we're about to talk about, it is just it was too numerous to count. We've really figured out the nuance behind it. And I think one of the things that some people do or do not realize is that Jordan and I knew each other years and years ago. And so there was a point in our careers where Jordan was coming into puppetry and I was thinking of leaving puppetry. And we had a little meeting because Larry Merkin said, I want you two guys to meet each other. I think you guys would get along. And we actually had this meeting outside. We talk about it all the time. There's a fountain down in a part of Toronto called the St. Lawrence Market. And we sat in this fountain. And I was just talking about me thinking I might want to leave puppetry, and him saying, I want you to stick around, and him coming into the business. And so we really leaned into that. So we had this, this friendship, this bond that, you started at that moment, and we really put every bit of that into that scene.
And talk about a full circle of moments that you had that conversation at a fountain, and here you are sharing this really beautiful scene at a fountain.
Yep, absolutely right.
I don't know if that means anything, but it's a true fact.
That is so. This is the
I
first
feel
time
like
hearing the story, and it's just so moving. I mean, the both of you put so much of yourselves into this episode. Kanja, you and I had our separate talk about it, and the way the we wanted to get it right, and the passion behind it. I love working with actors and performers, but just I'd never seen such sincerity and skill, and I just watching you both on set was so moving. And we're getting to the most moving moment of all when you guys hold hands, but it just was a delight. It shows in the episode. Like I think that's part of why this episode, it's a huge part of why this episode has hit the way it has, is the both of you. And knowing that, it's wow, I'm so moved.
Well, thank you, Charlie. And something that people should know is that, yeah, I had a chance to talk to Charlie about this episode and really get their perspective on why they chose Pogey specifically. I think I had said, as a writer, you can, you really are creating like a story out of thin air. So you could do anything. You could create a new character like the Great Glittering. You could do all these things. And they were just really adamant that Pogey was the right character. So they had seen this in their own mind before, and they realized that this was the right thing. And just having that conversation with you, Charlie, really meant the world to me, and I do thank you for that. And Charlie was also on set, and so as a performer, when I'm in the moment, don't get me wrong, but to look up and then you see Johnny there directing, and you see Charlie there beside,
sobbing, just crying,
right? Like, just, yeah, but it's as a performer, there's there's a different kind of I want to use the word playground, but there's a different type of playground that's created when you have truly supportive people there for you, and you don't have to perform. I mean, I didn't have to perform. I just was, and I remember, like, I had my scripts up, but I didn't look at my scripts. I didn't look at my scripts. For me, it was more important to really get the emotion and the tone of this moment. And Johnny, really, you helped me really understand that Pogey is very confident. Like I like Pogey really is okay with how they are, and is just taking Wembley on a bit of a tour of their perspective. It's how they see the world. And so yeah, it was a very special moment for a lot of different reasons. It really was like these three individuals around me, and that just made me feel so safe to perform.
Love that.
I really love this next moment in this scene where Pogey kind of explains, like, oh, I've had to decide being a go or a bow, and I'm kind of neither. Maybe I'm in between. And Wembley says, oh, like, you're a Wembler like me, like that, like Wembley's like recognizes this, but then Pogey immediately is like, I'm not a Wembler. I know exactly who I am. I'm Pogey, like I've been telling you all this whole time, I'm Pogey. And I love that they both have come to this very similar conclusion, or at least, Wembley is at least asking himself certain important questions, and they're both coming at it, to the same destination, but for two completely different reasons. And it keeps to both of their characters at their roots in such an honest way, like in a way that, as we were just talking about with Pogey, that it's not a deviation from who we've set Pogey up to be to this point. Just like Wembley, it makes so much sense because Wembley is the person who's asking questions, and Wembley is the one who, it comes across as, I can't make a decision, but really it's just being able to see lots of different options and kind of being, having that kind of decision paralysis. And I love that. I think that's beautiful. I think that really says a lot about, people in the LGBT community that there is not one path. There's not one way to be or one place to come from to get there.
Some people know quite early, and some people know, I'm not gonna even say late, some people know later in their lives. And it was really important to us for Wembley is the right character to tell this story, but I think we really wanted it to be clear, like Wembley is the sort of who is really deciding and is unsure, and is that person in all of us, the Fraggle in all of us, who it's hard for them. Everything is so uncertain, and I relate to that very much. But then there are those amongst us who are. It's so clear, and I think a lot of people see non-binary in particular as something that is like, oh, you're just confused. And so I think it was really important. It's like, no, Pogey's not confused. Pogey knows himself, and maybe there is a journey to get there. I of course really, love the line that like it took Pogey a long time to get their name. So maybe there was some exploration before Pogey got their name, so that they're so confident now. But it was just important to show that they know themselves in a way that you can't really poke holes in.
Mm-hmm.
So Pogey says that they're going to take Wembley to see the Great Glitterini. Glitterini is this like purple furry creature. So okay, I'm going to tell you, when I first saw the Glitterini, before I knew anything about anything, and I saw this character design, I'm not going to lie, my gut reaction was, that's it? Like, we kind of like, it's just like this featureless. You're cheering, like, yeah, you're Charlie, you're like cheering. Seems like that was your intention.
That's exactly what we were hoping for.
Like the head, like his head looks like a Muppaphone. It's just eyes, fur, circle. That's it. And then, as we will learn in a moment, like he can pop up here and there, and he can put on costumes, and his eyes can turn upside down, get all these different fun hairstyles. His arm extends, his belly glows with light. Tell me a little bit about all the decisions that went into everything I just word vomited all over.
I mean, you definitely hit the nail on the head in the sense that, you purposely want the Great Glitterini when you first see him to be a little bit like, huh? Like, oh, and it's just Wembley's perception of him, and then we learn that, it's how the Glitterini feels and sees himself, and that's how he presents to the world. So we wanted, it's actually a fun fact. It was actually originally called the Glitter Glob, wasn't it, Charlie?
Yep, glitter glob and his glitter globe.
The glitter glob and the glitter globe, and it was going to be, this kind of glob of like, shape shifting rock that could keep changing. And then, the more we talked about it, we thought maybe it's not the best way to go to call him a glob, but that we could make this character more fantastic, and even if their name is fantastic and their presentation isn't at first, that's kind of part of the fun of it. You know what I mean? So that was the main reason why. And then, we just started getting excited about the fact that he could represent all these different parts of how he feels. And so, we had a really great time talking about, what if his head could extend and his arms could extend? And what if his belly lit up when he's really excited? And what if he could change different outfits instantly and become different voices and different characters? And I have to say, Adam Lambert, who did such a phenomenal job voicing the character, jumped so far into, he was so excited he's like, oh, like a Southern accent for this moment. I was like, yes, and like he, and like the chef, he was like, oh, maybe he's a little fancier. I was like, go for it. Or when the eye sleeves, like, he did that, like, or but something else, like that, like great, like Edwin voice. Like, it was really just a sense to say that this character can be whoever and whatever they see themselves as, and that message was just so important for Wembley to see. But yes, the fact that you thought that he was a little bit like, when you not that impressive, is exactly how we wanted him to appear at first.
Great. I'm so glad I didn't insult the episode by accident again.
Wembley has the line right there. Wembley was like, I thought you'd be more glittery or something along those lines. And it was,
sure, yeah.
And again, this is supposed to be about a lot of different identities, but this is the sort of thing where I pull from very personal things and sometimes this the beautiful paradox of being a writer. Sometimes when you go very personal, it somehow gets very universal in general and identifiable to people in their own ways. But for this, you're looking at me on camera. People aren't at home, but if you were to Google me, don't Google me, but if you were to Google me, I look rather feminine. So if you look at me, most people who see me as a very feminine figure. I mostly get misgendered because of it. So I think a lot of people who are binary trans, there's this idea of passing, that they really, they want to present how they feel. They want to, regardless of if they feel, if they know that they are a woman or know that they are a man, there's this sense of like, oh, why do I want to give this to the observer to tell me who I am? I'm a woman, I'm a man, or I am non-binary, however you identify. So it was definitely deliberate to make it first be like, oh, well, I don't see what you see, and to turn it around on the viewer to be like, well, toots, it doesn't matter what you see because I know who I am. And that's sort of made the incredible creature that is Glitterini. And yeah, Adam Lambert did a wonderful, draggy, phenomenal performance.
He had so much fun doing it. So much fun. It was a blast.
That's awesome. You love to hear that too with the celebrities who come in and work with you guys. That they're not just like coming in and doing a job. It's like they really get into it. They really get into the characters of the world. Mm-hmm.
Everybody, we were so lucky, to have this, especially this season. I mean, last season too was amazing, but this season with the challenges we gave the celebrities with some of these characters, and the way we kind of wrote even more for them to do probably than last season. Everyone jumped in with both feet, and I think, Adam, we were so excited to get, first of all, because we knew he would sing that song so beautifully, which of course he does, but also just because he is a theater kid at heart. And so we knew that he would understand the kind of theatrics of the Glitterini, but also, he is the Glitterini. Like he lives this wonderful, glam rock world of, living it, being non-specific in gender identity and things like that on stage. I don't know. He felt like the right person to have that kind of confidence for this character, for sure.
Glitterini takes Wembley and Pogey into the glitter globe, not the glitter glob, but the glitter globe.
You see, he was the glitter glob, and the glitter globe is where he lived. It was right. It was the right thing to die. It had to die.
It had to die.
Once again, like this should not be a surprise to me. But every time we enter a new location in Fraggle Rock, it's absolutely beautiful. Obviously it's very glittery, but I love the geode patterns that are kind of lining the ceiling. Gorgeous. Absolutely gorgeous.
Stunning.
The transition practical.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, John, we talk about it, but it was in person, it was just like, they're going to think this is CG or some other weird transition. No, it really just separates and is incredible.
Wow.
Tyler Heron, who's our amazing production designer, just put his full heart into the set for me, and it meant a lot to me because he knew how important this set was for me and like what I wanted it to do and look. And I was like, it has to be the most fabulous place you could ever imagine of Fraggle Rock, and colorful everything. But I will also say it's like Charley was saying, the reveal was completely practical. The set was completely practical. I want to give a huge shout out to our amazing video effects team that created like 99.999% of the glitter you see falling down the whole episode is digital. And it is amazing the way that they made that glitter look like it is there, and the way that they make it look like it's bouncing off the characters' heads and that it's landing behind. I mean, really and truly, I forget watching it that we weren't raining glitter the whole time. And so I just love that first reveal where you get all of it at once, and it's just this glorious kaleidoscope of like practical work, video work. It's really cool.
Okay, but that 0.1% of that glitter got trailed throughout the place. Yes. In everybody's clothing. I think I took it all.
We're picking it out of our clothing for the next like 6 weeks. That's true.
So no word of a lie. I found one piece last week. No word of a lie. Yep, absolutely. Yep. It was in my car and transferred somehow. I mean, I just cleaned my car, so maybe it got lifted up, but it transferred onto my pants somehow, and it fell down. I was like, that is ridiculous.
Wow. Never going away. Always
I
gonna
can
be there.
imagine like getting the scripts for the first time for this episode and going, glitterini, we're gonna be spitting glitter
Oh
for
yeah,
weeks.
there was there was a
Fitting
lot
for
of
sure.
like does it have to be real glitter for some of these moments? It's like, yep, everyone get ready.
Sorry. Yeah. It's Fraggle magic. I don't know what to tell you.
Fraggle magic. You need some
That,
glitter.
that was such a Pogey yep, by the way, Johnny.
Yep. It was.
The apparently the glitter is magical and it can help you express yourself by changing your clothing. And Pogey tries out a few different outfits. They're all very expressive and glittery. I love the fact that one of them is a carrot in a bow tie.
Yeah.
That was my favorite.
Love it. Love it. I don't know what it is about puppets dressed as vegetables that just gets me.
It's always funny.
And the bow tie, just gilding that lily. Wembley tries a few as well. He does one with silly glasses and a mustache and like a captain's hat with this big sparkly necklace. Then he goes back to the outfit he was wearing earlier, the robe, the necklace, the side ponytail. Yes. And he starts to panic. What if his friends don't accept him? And we get this great shot of all these different reflections of Wembley telling him that, he should just go back to the way it should be and to make a decision. And his emotions start up a glitter-nado, which is the most fabulous
of all.
Go ahead, you say it.
No, you say it. You were going to do it. I jumped you.
The most fabulous of all natural disasters. What a great line that is. God,
another
is that
Charley Feldman classic.
Take that, Sharknado.
Yeah. Well, I have to say, because I think you're the listeners, hi everyone, will find this interesting. Is that moment when they're trying on the different outfits, the glitterini and Wembley and Pogey, we did something we've never done before on the show, which is we used a motion control camera, a full one. We did it a little bit in the Four Wembley's episode, but that was a different rig. This was a full rented giant piece of machinery that, if you don't know what that means, it means that you can program the camera to repeat the same moves over and over again. So what we did was we would shoot the first initial take, and then the camera would memorize the moves, and then it would keep replaying it. And that's how we were able to do the Wembleys morphing into each other in one shot. We also used it later in the song when they're climbing up the Glitter Mountains, where you see Pogey and Wembley full body. And it's a very complicated thing to do because you cannot touch the set. You cannot move anything except for the thing you want to move, which is the puppet. And I hold the distinction. My episode holds the distinction of being the only episode of Fraggle Rock Back to the Rock that shot 8 hours of overtime. And it's because it was so hard to shoot those motion control shots. And so we literally shot one night until after midnight, which we'd never done before. And I wanted to just give a moment here on this podcast to say how touched I was. I went home crying that night, not only because I was exhausted, but because I was so moved by the fact that the entire cast and crew and team, everybody joyously was like stayed late and worked late and was like, no, we have to do this to get the right shot. We got to get it right. And I felt so guilty because I was like, I'm the one director who takes this into overtime. But I think it was worth it. It looked so spectacular. But that's how we did that. That's how we did those effects. Was that was all shot in the set. It was all shot, with that motion control camera. I think that's why you get those flawless transitions and they look so beautiful.
Wow. Yeah. Yeah. No, that really comes across.
Johnny, the director has so much vision. It's such a dream I can't imagine from a performer's, but just to see, because Johnny's just been there, been in the trenches, know what's needed to give everyone support, but also just such a kind and generous person that everyone wanted to be there because they believe in him, they believe in the project, they believe in the story. Especially it really was a joy. Like, we were exhausted and we got real zany towards the end there.
But pizza was good. We ordered pizza that was good.
But it was so, everyone, you're right, I really don't think anyone minded because everyone was really on board with this episode, and I think it's because of your leadership.
Thank you. I will say that what the moment that I was so touched by was there was one crew person who just genuinely was always had a kind of like strong face on, like one of those people like had a good poker face, I guess you would say. Like you never knew if they were like happy or not, and then and was a wonderful. He was incredible to work with. He's a sweetheart. But I was nervous because I was like, oh no, because people want to get home to their families and whatever, and he had a very serious look on his face, and I was like, he's mad at me, and if I'm one of those people, if I think one person's mad at me, I'm devastated. So I went up to him and I was like, hey, I just want to say I'm so sorry we're going late, and I hope you're not upset. And he looked at me with tears in his eyes, and he said, are you kidding me? He's like, this is the most important thing we could possibly be doing right now. He's like, I'm so in right now. And I was like, okay, all right, look, I'm glad you're okay.
That's what never happens. Like the set is so, it moves like so well. Like it's also so great.
Yeah. But as a performer, that Johnny, and if you don't know, you need to know that the love that you have, because you've been in the trenches with us and because of who you are, it reminds me of there's a quote in a movie called Donnie Brasco where this gangster saying, would you rather be feared or would you rather be loved? And he'd rather be feared, but in the case of John Tartaglia, you are completely loved by every single person that I know, including myself, and it's a genuine love, and absolutely tears in our eyes, because we don't want you to ever worry. We've got your back, and if it is a minor thing like getting to spend more time with you, that is a blessing, not something to be upset at. So yeah,
I love you, Kanja Chen. Thank you,
Johnny. You are truly the anti-Donnie Brasco.
Yes.
I've always said that. Johnny Breadsticks, not a Donnie Brasco.
That's right. This is Johnny Breadsticks. That's my other writer's room name. I am I'm very touched by that. Thank you. And I truly love this cast and this crew too. So it was just an excuse to spend more time together. There you go.
So, not to break up this love fest, but we'll pause on it. I'm sure we'll get back into
therapy.
It.
You're charging me by the hour.
So while this glitter NATO is going on in outer space, Sprocket is still trying to get Doc to sing. This is gonna be important in a second. And for those of us who knew, like, this was the point in which we were like, oh, he's asking Lily Cooper to sing. We're gonna get Lily, and like, of course, like, if you don't know that she's a huge Broadway star, then like it might be a little surprise. But for most of us, we're just like, oh, finally. And this is what I was talking about at the beginning of this episode. There were two things that we asked for at the end of season one. One was give Pogey their own episode, and the other one is we need Lily Cooper to sing on this show. And I'm so glad you found an opportunity.
I'm so happy you said that, because you know what? I don't speak for everybody. I was very nervous about it because the original Doc, of course, did not sing. I'm sure Jerry Parks could sing, but he did not sing in the original series. And I had an internal fear of like, are we crossing the worlds too much? Because, Doc and Sprocket, even though Sprocket's a puppet clearly, like, they are supposed to represent the real quote unquote world, and Fraggle Rock is its own thing where characters can burst into song. So I was a little nervous about it, but then it ended up being one of my favorite parts of the whole series was that.
Well, and it makes sense for what you're doing. Like, Doc is singing to Sprocket, they're talking about karaoke, and you didn't do this, but you're also in this season starting to play a little bit with Doc and Sprocket and like a fantasy world. We get a couple of episodes where they have a little fantasy of, Doc is picturing
in jail,
Sprocket is fixing Doc in science jail, which is hysterical. Or there's one where
captain, when they're on the boat,
where she's captain of the ship. That's it. Yeah. She takes the yacht job. So like I would have expected that it would have been a fantasy, and that would have been perfectly fine as well. But I think keeping the fact that she's singing in the real world, and also, really starting to put a foothold into the world of Fraggle Rock, because like we see, she has kind of a almost connection to them in the first season with the stuff happening on her camera. She literally gets half her body into Fraggle Rock when she's crawling through the Fraggle hole earlier. And then we get a little tease. We'll get to this later in the podcast, but a little tease at the end of the season. So it really seems like as the series goes on, maybe Doc is starting to get a little bit more comfortable with being in Fraggle Rock, which she doesn't even know exists yet.
You never know.
Anything can happen. We'll see.
also, you have a Lily Cooper. You've got this secret weapon. You gotta use it. Like she's incredible.
The most incredible singer. Yeah.
When you asked her, "Are you comfortable singing?" was she like, "No," like absolutely not. I am
think she
Doc.
was
Doc doesn't
surprised.
sing.
Yeah, right. Can you imagine? She's like, no, it's not my character. No, I think she was surprised because she knew that, that traditionally Doc didn't sing. But I think she was thrilled. And especially the way the story, her storyline of, which feels like, again, Charlie so brilliantly had like three different stories going, each relatable to people in different ways. But, I think every person can relate to, if you're not a performer, but if there's some thing that maybe someone made you feel like you shouldn't do because you wouldn't be taken seriously or you wouldn't be liked or you wouldn't be enough. So I love that her storyline is exists on its own, having nothing to do with gender identity, nothing to do with that, just a different kind of identity, just about who am I if I'm not a scientist, who am I, will I be taken seriously if I go and sing karaoke drunkenly in a bar at 5 a.m. It's like it gives her the option to really just be herself in a different way. And I love that. I think it was so smart the way Charlie wrote that.
Everyone contains multitudes. Like you are more than just one thing to other people, to yourself, and you shouldn't. And also, just we're a show that does not believe in taking anything too seriously. So it's really hard when you're a person who's like, I need to be a serious academic or a serious anything, and I don't think anyone is better off feeling like. I think you need to loosen up.
Gotta laugh. Yeah,
it's true. So Wembley is still panicking. Feels like choosing what he wants to be just feels so permanent, but it makes him feel so alone. And then this is the moment that Charlie mentioned earlier. It really is like, I'm getting chills just thinking about it. Like Pogey just reaches out and holds Wembley's hand.
It's my favorite. It's my favorite shot in the whole thing. I'm so proud of that shot. That's my favorite thing. Yeah, I was so excited to shoot that.
I want to just to give a huge shout out to Amy Garcia. Amy Garcia is the assist on the majority of Pogey and was instrumental in all of the emotion that comes through the handwork. And I do believe, I could be wrong, but I do believe that Amy was the hand that actually reached.
I think she was.
Yeah. And
I think so.
Yeah. And she's brilliant. She's brilliant.
It's probably also Fraggle nerd fun to talk about the fact that, we have these things called grippy hands on the Fraggles that most of the principal characters have. And they're these cable controlled hands that are only put on for when we need them, that can grab props and hold props. And so, if you watch the original series, they use it a lot with Gobo grabbing postcards or Boober pulling a scarf away from his neck. So we rebuilt them for the reboot, and we didn't have one for Pogey. We just didn't think to build one. And the wizards in the Calgary Creature Shop, Jurgen and Scotty and Dina and the entire wonderful team were like, we got it, and built a Pogey grippy hand pretty much overnight. And that's what we use there. And I think that's why it looks so sweet and beautiful, is that that's a real thing. It wasn't animated, it wasn't CG'd, it wasn't blue screen. It's literally just these two beautifully designed mechanized hands holding on to each other. And it's just, I think it's so touching.
And I'm usually not a big proponent of defending erasing arm rods, but this is one of those moments where if there were arm rods visible, it would have ruined the effect, because like we it's emotional because they're real, because the Fraggles are real, and those are real hands that are reaching out and grabbing each other. And it's such a simple moment too. Like you could have done anything in this moment, and the fact that it's just Pogey reaches out and holds Wembley's hand, and like that's enough. And
it felt like it was too easy to just do like a arm on the shoulder, or it felt like it was just too easy to do an arm around the waist. It felt like it needed to be something that we don't usually see, but also is so universal, right? It's like that's the most like I've got you calming thing you can do for somebody, is to grab their hand like that. So it just felt like that was the reason to do it and the way to do it at that moment.
Yeah. And Pogey says, predictably, I'm Pogey. And Wembley says, I know that. You say it all the time. And Pogey says, and you're Wembley. No matter what you look like today or tomorrow, you'll always be Wembley. And then Pogey explains they like saying their names so much because it took them so long to find it. This is Charlie. You were talking about this earlier. And what I love about this too is it tells us a lot about Pogey. Not only does Pogey have more of a story, more of a backstory to how they became who they are, that maybe their name when they were born or hatched was not Pogey. And we're not going to get that story here, and that's okay. That maybe that's not for us to know. And the fact that I think for any of us, it's we have to kind of find ourselves, and gosh, and then for Pogey to take this thing that would started out as a silly catchphrase and to turn into something that's so poignant that like it's something that Pogey wants to like shout from the mountains. Like I want to say I'm Pogey because I discovered that I'm Pogey, and I thought that was just a stupid thing that you said. It was so stupid. And it's not. Now I feel bad for thinking it was stupid.
No, it is also stupid. That's
It's also
the beauty of
stupid, yes.
Fraggle Rock. But it also is meaningful. Names are meaningful. It's the wonderful thing about this life is you get to, if you're lucky, live long enough to see yourself change in so many ways. And it's always you
I love
in
that.
every moment. And others may not be around to track it, but you're stuck with yourself, and you can either love who that person is and all of their changes, or the opposite is frankly too sad and tragic to think about. So I hope everyone finds the Pogey within themselves, regardless of their identity, because you deserve to keep exploring who that person is.
Amen.
And can I just say, in terms of the name, I don't know why I didn't even think about this until this moment, but the truth is, having a name Kanja and having it spelled Kanja, I mean, I struggled with my name growing up. I was the kid who could not find the bracelet in the gift shop that said Kanja on it, right? I was the kid who didn't have, a shirt that was, had my name written on it, because no one did that. And I went through a time when I was younger where I actually had my grandmother. I have obviously two grandmothers. So my maternal grandmother, she said, "Do you want me to call you by a different name?" And I said, "Yeah." So my maternal grandmother called me Aaron for the longest time. And and even wrote birthday cards with it. And it wasn't until I was old, it wasn't until I was older that that I absolutely ended up loving my name and the way it was spelled, and it was unique to who I am. And so my connection, and I didn't even think about this.
I was going to say, you never told us this before.
I know, I never, like, I'm literally thinking about this in this moment, but this is 100% my experience, that I too found my name, and I have no problem if people get my name wrong. It's just it's par for the course. It's what it allows me to engage and explain and talk about how proud I am of my name and the way to spell it. And I'm okay with people messing it up because I get to talk with them about it.
And open up
that's
the
beautiful
conversation about who you are and what it means to you. That's amazing.
So Wembley has come to terms with the fact that he's Wembley, and the glitter-nado stops. Thank goodness. We get our second song of the episode here. It's called Free and High. It's from the original series episode Wembley's Flight. Is this Pogey's first like song? I mean, it's not a solo song, obviously, but is this the first time that Pogey really gets to sing like a verse by themselves?
I think I have said a party for some pants. Remember, I get to say that ridiculous line. But this is the first time really, that I'm doing a little bit more singing. And yeah, no pressure. You're singing with Lily Cooper and Adam Lambert, like along with Jordan Lockhart. I mean, Jordan I felt comfortable with, but the other two, I'm like, oh my god, the grade 10 choir boy in me was kind of like going, oh, you're not ready for this. So I'll let you know my absolute personal approach to it. And again, it goes back to the entire music team and just everyone who supported me with the recording of my piece. I went into that recording studio and I said, I'm not going to try to out sing anyone. That's not my goal here. My goal is to really get the emotion of what it's about. And when I tell you that I recorded something with like so much love in my heart, like I don't think I've ever performed anything with that much love in my heart. And it really
You can
was.
hear it.
You can
Yeah,
hear
You
it.
can hear it come through.
that was all I said I could do, is I could just be genuine and honest with my emotion. And that's what I went into. And I knew that the experts would help me, get the right notes. So, I didn't have to worry about that. And it's rare. We're usually quite critical of ourselves as performers, right? We analyze it, and it's one of the few times where I've actually said, I like how you sound, Kanya. And
Well, I think you sound spectacular, and it is that heart. Your verse is just like, it's pure joy. It's just like, it feels like you're floating on a cloud. It's just beautiful.
wow, thank you.
I love how you sound, Kanya.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much. It's wonderful.
And as you said, like, you get to sing the song with Adam Lambert and Lily Cooper, which, what a gift both of them are. And I just love, like, Lily, she's so talented, and like to see her really belting it out. And then when we get the split screen with Lily Cooper singing with Wembley, I think it's just such a wonderful moment in this episode that, like, to finally, I know I already talked about this, but like to see these two worlds start to get closer and closer together in a way
And
that
not
they're not
even
even
knowing
aware
that
of.
they're connecting. Yeah. They have no
Exactly.
idea,
Yeah.
which I think is so cool.
Love it.
And I love that this song also, I think this is just it wasn't purposely chosen for this reason, but I think it's just a nice alignment. The fact that it was originally sung by Richard Hunt, who was a member of the LGBT plus community, and a hero to all of us. Like, he's my personal hero. And so just to know that we were getting to do that song, that he originated, I don't know, there's just something very special about that too.
Yeah, that's great. I mean, just to have all these connections and all these talented folks who, have their own personal stories that are related to the story that you guys are telling in this episode, to be working on it.
Yeah.
Everyone, it's just great to have you all involved with this. So Wembley and Pogey borrow some glitter from Glitterini to take back to Gobo's party. Now, this is an interesting line as well. So Glitterini says, oh, this younger generation, I'm so proud to be glittering along long enough to see this. So Glitterini, I mean, we could have kind of figured this out through the context of the episode, but Glitterini, I guess, is specifically like this older queer generation that's kind of bringing in. So tell me a little bit about like what's important about that for this character.
Glad you mentioned this line. It's important. It's something our queer elders are absolutely important, not only to help guide us, but also because, unfortunately, it is so very rare. We don't have the Richard Hunts in our lives anymore because of a great plague, that hit our community, hit gay men hardest of all. And so we have a character like Glitterini who gets to be here and see all the changes in the community and get to enjoy the we have a lot more to do. There's a lot more that we're fighting against, but at least he made it this long to enjoy the beauty and the acceptance that at least we have gotten to all the glitter that we're glittering right now.
And I think that last line, the "keep glittering, babies," that great last line, was such a perfect example of the collaboration of Fraggle Rock. That Charley was there on set that day, was visiting for the week, weren't you? You're there for the week.
Not to be there whole
And
week.
yeah, it was just wonderful. And Ben DeRoche, who's puppeteering Glitterini, who did such a brilliant job with that puppet. And that's a hard puppet. That's a big puppet, and it's long, and Ben has these like long, insanely like long, like giraffe arms, and so he was perfect to do it. He did such a beautiful job with it. But that was such a moment of like Ben and Charley, live on set, coming up with that last line. Like that last line, I don't think in the script. I think it was like you guys came up with it together. Yeah, and it was such a beautiful moment. And then Adam heard it and in the recording studio afterwards, and just was like laughing so hard. He's like, "What a great line!" And then his delivery of it worked. So it's just like these different worlds coming together to make this one moment happen that has so much meaning, like Charley was saying, because of what it's saying. I just love it. I love that moment.
Fantastic. I love it.
I just want to jump in really quickly because Johnny, what you said just reminded me of something that I meant to say earlier and I totally forgot. But when you watch the behind the scenes video of that moment when Glitterini is coming forward, and then Pogey and Wembley are coming to join Glitterini, you don't realize that you have Ben DeRoche and Glitterini. You have Kira Hall and Andrew Cooper assisting on Glitterini. You have myself, who's behind Jordan Lockhart, and there is a very narrow gap in which we can actually get through. And when you watch it, you realize that there's so much going on in terms of the puppeteers looking at each other and wheeling around each other on these rollies. But on the camera, it just happens. So it is so complex and so complicated. And to your point, Johnny, it just looks so effortless, and you really believe in these characters just being.
The other example really quick of that, but actually I'm so glad you just brought that up, Kanye, that I think also, if people can't really see the video, I wish you could find an angle that shows it, is also, in the song when Glitterini kind of launches the glitter to the glitter piles and the piles start moving around. I had this image in my head of like very theatrical of like all of a sudden like all the piles of glitter moving and chasing each other. He's creating this stairway. And it's like 10:45, 11 p.m. at night, everyone's exhausted. And our amazing crew like jumped in. Our ADs were down there. People were like literally like crab walking under the set, rolling around. I wish people could see me right now, rolling around these piles of glitter, and just again jumping in and moving. So literally that moment is like 7 puppeteers and like 9 crew all working around each other to try to move. So I just puppet magic. Puppet magic.
Yeah.
Brilliant. Wembley and Pogey return to Fraggle Rock. Wembley explains that, Pogey is not a go or a bow, maybe something else, leaving it open-ended, open to interpretation, just like Wembley, because Wembley's now got this new look. Gobo asks if it's permanent, but Wembley sort of confirms, like, maybe I'll bring it out every so often. And again, like, could go any direction for Wembley, and that's a good thing. But I also love the fact that you do bring this outfit back later on. Like, this wasn't just oh no, that's the episode where we talk about that thing. Like, we're actually starting to write new, character decisions for Wembley, and it's going to carry through. So that's fantastic.
I'm so glad you said that, Joe, because that brings up the point that we talked about in the writers' room, which was, we felt very strongly that it would be more true to life and more impactful to have, in both Pogey's case and Wembley's case, to have these characters be characters that we see on the regular. That this isn't a very special episode of Fraggle Rock where just, we create a new Fraggle who, represents this. And then to your point, maybe we never see them again. And that's not the slight series that have done that. We just felt like in the world of Fraggle Rock, it was more important to have it be characters that we know and we love. And this is another part of them that we get to know and love and that we can continue on. So even to your point about like I think it's episode 9 in the Radish Ball, when you see Wembley with the side ponytail and so that again, and I think I think Gobo says that Wembley looks great. That's it. Like, I don't think we ever talk about it. No one says Wembley wearing a ponytail. Like, it just becomes part of who he is. And that, I think, is the magic of the show. And that we were able to do that, that we were, enabled and able to do that, to have these characters have these new parts of their personalities and just have it be part of the show.
And this isn't the first time you've done this. This is in season 1, in the glow, Boober has his whole metaphor with his glowing tail, and that tail glows every so often. It still happens.
That's right.
Like, it's a part of the overall Fraggle lore, but also more importantly, a part of Boober's character, in this case, Wembley's character.
That's right.
I love that. Like, these characters can still grow and evolve, and we don't have to go backward.
Yeah.
And we don't have to be married to the status quo. Status quo is boring.
Yeah, exactly. I mean,
sorry.
No, say go for it.
There's some shows where a character has to reset, a lot of animation does that, where you can't really see the characters grow. And I love the opportunity for Back to the Rock, where there's certainly in the classic episodes, like Sidebottom comes back, and that's certainly an aspect of Boober, but like not huge changes happen to our gang. So we're a little different. We have an arc to our story. We have a full season to see them explore and grow. And I love that about our storytelling, is that we can do something like that, where this comes back and is a part of, and you grow like you do in real life.
That's right.
That brings us to the end of this episode. My one question I have is, I always wonder this when the Fraggles meet a new character who does not live at Fraggle Rock, is will we see them again? Like, is there going to be a reason to have the Great Glitterini come to Fraggle Rock, or to start crossing over back and forth, or mixing and matching all these other characters that we see, you know, in the extended Rock? What do you think?
I hope so. I hope so. I think usually it comes down to, in this case, like Glitterini or Jamblin, who came back this year with David, and it comes down to people's interest in availability and schedule, and when it comes to like characters that aren't performed by celebrities, because there's just so much that goes into a celebrity-driven character, because you have to think about their schedule and their recording, so that. But when it's a character that we just discover that we love, then I mean. And I think Glitterini is that character for sure, even though he's voiced by Adam. I think Adam had such a good time doing it that I think if we said, "Hey, we want to bring the Glitterini back, we have another episode," I think he'd be thrilled. I'd like to think.
Brett Goldstein would be back immediately.
Brett Goldstein.
Really, do you think he likes Fraggles? Do you think he had a good time? I don't know.
He's gonna be. I mean, if I have my druthers, he's gonna be a puppeteer someday, because he's actually really good, and he loves it so much. He does. He was so much fun to work with this year too.
Well, we'll get to that one. That's coming up soon. So do any of the three of you have any other thoughts about this episode, or memories from filming this episode that you wanted to share before we move on? Did we cover it all?
I guess shout out to my dad the day after Father's Day for giving me the line for Ma Gorg. Ma Gorg says, "You don't have to understand, you just have to support." And when I came out to my dad, literally, he told me that. And so thank you, Stephen L. Feldman.
I think that's one of the most, I've seen that line, a lot of folks online mention that line. Yeah, and how that is the most, like, one of the most impactful lines, because it's so true. And it's Fraggle Rock's always been about acceptance and love, and everyone's welcome. And I think that line, especially from Ma Gorg, right? Like, I mean, I love that Ma Gorg has become who she's become in this version of the show. I really do.
We're gonna have a lot to talk about with Ma Gorg coming up later in the season, just because she goes through some. I mean, talk about not staying with the status quo. Like, she goes through a lot of growth. But I think so. The line that you just quoted, Charlie, is, it's obviously specifically kind of pointed toward Pa Gorg, who really doesn't understand these things, and Pa doesn't change.
Understand most things.
Really, even beyond the stuff that we're trying to teach in this episode, he really doesn't understand anything. But he will never understand Junior. He'll never understand the boxes, and the very best we could do is maybe try to convince him to, like, don't worry about understanding, just accept and just show some love.
Well, sorry, I was going to say, Charlie, that, like, I think something that we talked about in the room that's really important is about Pa Gorg, is that, like, he's also a victim of generational trauma and generational expectations. That's something and like, going back to what we were talking about before about little kids being so innocent when they try on their mother's clothes. They think there's nothing ingrained in them that thinks that's not quote unquote right or wrong until an adult says so. And so that's kind of Pa, right? Like, he's the reason he feels this way about Fraggles, the reason he feels this way about the Kingdom, the reason he feels this way about Junior, all of that comes from what he's been taught, and incorrectly. So yeah, I just think it's Pa's not. I think he's an interesting character, because I don't think he at his heart is a horrible person at all. I think he's just been taught the wrong things, and so it's lovely to see the little bit of the stair step he's had this season. He's getting closer to becoming a better person. And I think so much of that is Ma. That Ma has really stepped in and said, I'm not gonna let you be the final decision maker on these things anymore.
Pod needs therapy, I think.
Very much so. He needs Fraggle therapy. He needs to spend a couple days in Fraggle Rock. Maybe that'll happen in season 3.
Season 3, we'll see.
I think there's something really wonderful too about the relationship between Ma and Pa Gorg, and it reminds me of a discussion I heard about Homer Simpson, and it's the idea that Pa is so flawed as a character, and we look at him and it's like, how can anyone like Pa? But the simple fact that Ma loves him is what makes us like Pa.
Yeah.
Because Ma is she is someone who we can truly connect to with on an emotional level, and we're like, this is a good person, and she has given her seal of approval with her love towards Pa, that you're like, okay, there's something in there that we don't know yet that she sees.
I like that. Yeah, there's something yet to be revealed. Not just the fact that they love each other, but why do they love each other, and should we love them, or should we give them permissions to become better Gorgs?
I believe they have it in them. I mean, Pa is the closest thing we have to, I don't want to call him a villain, but Pa is certainly an antagonist. And we did sort of have to reset Pog at the start of this season to make sure there's some conflict in this world. But I do think he stands in for an optimism we have in this writer's room and in this show, that people can learn and people can change, and no one is really like too far gone. Like he's sitting in for a lot there, and that's sort of the incremental step of, you don't have to understand, you just got to support. A lot of people change their mind because of someone in their orbit, their relative, their friends. They realize, oh, it's not so weird or scary to know someone who's quite different. And sometimes people just don't find the empathy otherwise. They need someone that is in their life. So that's Pa Gorg, and I'm very curious what kind of new dad he'll be. Spoilers.
New dad. My goodness. All right. Well, again, another reason why Apple TV, if you're listening, give us a season 3. We got to see what this thing looks like.
Yes.
So as we're wrapping this up, we have a question that we like to ask all of our guests. And if you could each tell me, how do you plan to make this world a little fragglier?
For me, people may not realize this, but I've spent the majority of my working career as a teacher, as an educator. And so puppetry was something I never gave up on. It was something I absolutely loved. And 20 plus years as an educator, but still never giving up on my absolute dream of possibly doing something that was creative. And John Tartaglia and the Jim Henson Company and all the people who saw whatever they saw in me and gave me that opportunity allowed me to pivot my entire life. And I've left my teaching career, but I've said to myself that I want to do a lot of what was at the core of what I did as a teacher, which is to try to improve the lives of children. And I did that in a classroom and community context when I was a teacher, but I want to be able to do it globally. So following my dreams is a big part of it. Being on Fraggle Rock is a big part of it. And, for my own children, I'm able to demonstrate that, you can follow your dreams and you can live a life that is filled with joy in all aspects of your life. And I think that's a pretty fraggly thing to do.
Here.
I love that.
I mean, I don't want to cop out and say, like, I hope I continue to write fraggly no matter what I'm writing on. I love so much about this room. This room means the world to me. The most supportive, kind, silliest, sweetest people I've ever worked with. But we go into every room with, okay, what do we want to talk about? What do we want to do for the world to make it better? So if I could, even in really, like I do a lot of different kind of shows, I'd like to think there's always room for any kind of show, be it a more adult action related show or a more Fraggle co-viewing experience, that there's a way to be like, no, I want peace on this earth. I want more people to have rights that are not being able to be taken away, and is humanity to be recognized. And that is how I will try. And then also not take myself so seriously, which is extremely important as a Fraggle.
I love that. I think in that same vein, I think this show, working on it and performing on it and everything, has reminded me of the incredible importance of not taking things too seriously, and of spreading joy the way that the Fraggles do. You know, celebrating the moment the way the Fraggles do. Like we were talking before about like the let's throw a party because Gobo was going away for an hour. And I think that definitely is something like I have tried to kind of carry past shooting the show, of like, being authentically yourself in a goofy moment and encouraging others to be as goofy as you are, or just celebrating that the silly, goofy moments where before I probably would have been a little bit more insecure about it, a little bit more, self-deprecating about it or whatever. Like, I think it's just owning those moments a little bit more. And I think the biggest thing, I think, is finding the hope. We live in a very scary world right now. We live in a very difficult world. We're inundated every day about, the climate's falling apart, animals are dying, this is happening, there's wars. It's just, it's overwhelming to be a human right now. And just, it is that, I know you guys will talk about this, but that last episode of the second season, like, was very personal in many ways to a lot of us, because it is hard to find the hope at this point in humanity. And I think the Fraggles naturally are filled with that. And so I think it's just trying to remind yourself every day of the hope that if the Fraggles can be hopeful about the world and about the future, they're facing all these horrible things, but they still are hopeful about that things will get better. And I think we could do the same thing.
Amen.
Kanja Chen, Charley Feldman, John Tartaglia, thank you all so much for being here. Thank you all so much for the gift of Fraggle Rock Back to the Rock. It's been such a joy to get to talk to all of you about this really, honestly, amazing episode of television. Not just a great episode of Fraggle Rock, a great episode of TV history. It really has been a gift to so many people, and I'm so happy it exists, and I'm so happy that I got to chat with all of you in such great detail about it.
Thank you, Joe. Do you feel better now also that we talked through the therapy of Boxing Day? Do you feel better? You got it off your chest?
I want to make sure that lifted. We leave.
Okay, good.
I tell you, I've knocked down my box and now I'm dancing on top of it after having gotten all that out of my system. So thank you.
I'll just say really quickly for those listening, you can't see Joe, but his eyes were so wide and fearful while he was bringing it up. But I applaud you for being honest at how you felt. I really do. I think that's so important.
I'm just glad now that we're all friends, I know exactly what to get you for your birthday.
An empty box?
Not just an empty box, a box that you can smash and dance upon.
Oh, yes, of course. Thank you. I'll text you my shipping address.
Good. Excellent.
Perfect. Fraggle Talk, the unofficial Fraggle Rock podcast, is brought to you by toughpigs.com. Produced, written, and hosted by Joe Hennis. Fraggle Talk art by Dave Hulteen Jr. Fraggle Rock mark and logo, characters, and elements are trademarks of the Jim Henson Company, all rights reserved. Transcripts provided by Caitlin Miller. Fraggle Rock theme song, written by Philip Balsam and Dennis Lee, is used with permission. Special thanks to the Jim Henson Company, Apple TV Plus, and the entire Fraggle Rock Back to the Rock family. Be sure to follow Tough Pigs at Tough Pigs on all social media platforms, including Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok, and please consider supporting us on Patreon or by buying merchandise on TeePublic. For more Fraggle podcast fun, listen to Fraggle Talk Classic on your favorite podcast app. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time down at Fraggle Talk.